Thank you for joining me for this demonstration of Qumulo Trends. In today's demonstration, the point is to show the different information attributes that we can gain from looking at the Trends tool. So without further ado, we'll dig in. Now, for this one, we did about 6 months worth of data. This cluster is about a year old, maybe a little bit longer. But we're welcome to go into the date range and pick a different date if we so choose. So we'll go in and update it, and we can tell it, hey, update graph, show me more of this information. What I really like about it is that once the information is populated, we can go in and we can simply move our cursor through the graph to understand metadata, snaps, data, what do the different utilizations look like, and we customize that for just ease of visibility. So given that that was a pretty long graph, it can be a little bit narrow when it comes to those. So if we want to do, say, last 24 hours, we can come in and take a look at the same information with a little more granularity. But the idea is that you should be able to look at something as small as one day or as large as the entire life of the cluster. So for the sake of demonstration, we'll stretch it back out to another month here, and we'll kind of scroll down. So one of the things we can look at is the capacity, and we can see that's trending up and to the right, which I think is normal for most NAS utilization. So same with file and directory counts. It's very nice to have that information right here at our fingertips. We'll scroll through the rest fairly quickly. We can take a look at throughput, not just on read, but on write rates as well. And then you can see there is the reclamation rates there in the darker gray colors. Now, as we continue down the graphs, we have IOPS available. So we have obviously read and write when it comes to IOPS. Disk utilization. And if you'll notice, this is giving you HDD and SSD/NVMe utilization here. And you can see that those are color-coded as well, but very helpful to get a better understanding of what those rates look like. CPU utilization sometimes is going to be very important to you. Otherwise, it's just good to note, but this will give us the information that we need. And then you can see it not only gives you CPU, but CPU max as well, so you can see that information. We have data read and write latency, metadata latency, and here's one that's been especially helpful for clients of mine, is to be able to see the number of clients both reading and writing in the cluster. Then, as well as files being read and written. And then we have data read and write sizes. This one is actually pretty helpful pretty often for customers who want to see a little bit more about performance in a specific date and time. We can see here we have the system temperatures, and we'll see an anomaly here where we did not record these things because we may have been in a maintenance routine at that time. We can also see node load balance, where it not only color codes it for heavy, just right, or light, but it also tells us what's that percentage of utilization within the cluster. So very helpful to understand what load spread looks like. And then, of course, we have your network throughput stats, both in and then on the next one, out. All right. We'll scroll back up here into the next section is going to be capacity. So one of the most difficult things for data administrators is to actually predict when they're going to run out of space. Now, given that this is predictive, it's not 100% accurate, but we do what we can to arm our customers with the most information possible to be able to predict when they may need to expand a cluster. So based on this, we take an interval of usage, and we take the highest level of usage, the median level of usage, and the low level of usage, and we say, based on each of those particular thresholds, we expect you to run out with high usage on this date, median this date, and low on this date. And again, it may not be 100% accurate, but it will probably get you into a pretty close estimate. And so if we want to see, more information on this, we can tell it to stretch out maybe to the last year, where it will show us a little bit more, right? A little bit more information about the life of the cluster. So very interesting and cool to be able to have that. Now, the next part I want to show is our event timeline. Now, this has been a fairly healthy cluster, so there's not going to be a ton of stuff for us to see in this particular case. But let's say you were to have, say, maybe a bad drive, or maybe the network went down, or you had a memory DIMM fail, or you upgraded a system version, or some other customer service thing may have happened. This is where you will be able to see that information, as well as it's a very quick way to be able to glance in and look at all of your different clusters and understand what firmware version they may be on or the different events associated with it. And again, this is a very clever tool where you can pick a specific point in time or date range, if you will. And then latency. Now, I realize that this can be a bit of an eye chart, so I'm more than happy to go over this with you guys during the POC. But I don't know a lot of different vendors that will give this level of detail on information about what the cluster is doing. We utterly believe in visibility and transparency in our product. So the very cool part is, and obviously you can select your date range here, so if we want to extend it or shorten it, we can obviously do that. Now we can come in here and we can hover over any one of these operation types. So in this one it's NFS write. We can say what's the average latency, what was the average operation count, and what was the date and time on that. So if you'll notice, as we move through this, it's running every couple of hours or whatever it is. But we can also see all of these other different attributes. And I won't take the time to read all of these aloud, but very cool things to be able to see this. Now I found if you normalize it, you can take a little bit kinder look at what you can expect to see. But really neat that we're able to offer this information and that customers are able to consume it as well. And so with that, I said I would make this a short demonstration, and I think we did. I hope that this was helpful, and I'm certainly looking forward to a much deeper dive into this product and to answer any questions that you may have. With that, I hope you have a wonderful day.